Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 1 of our Black Market DLC Let's Play. So, TLDR, the situation is this. I might have judged the whole first impressions on this game a little bit too harshly, mostly because it was just an hour into the game and I really didn't explore past like 3 sectors. So, with that in mind, I'm not going to make a specific voting on what we're going to do, but rather, we're just going to jump into the game and see what happens. The whole idea is that I am, in fact, going to establish some ground rules on how we're going to do this Let's Play, just for the sake of, additional challenge and not to, burn through the content a little bit too quickly, but at the same time, I am going to allow one specific part in that as we play the game, we will in fact either add or do away with some of these limitations as we see fit. So, with that in mind, let me try to very quickly TLDR what exactly I'm going to try to do for this Let's Play. First of all, we are going to try to explore the whole area of the Syndicate in general, so we are going to be participating in that. At the time recording this first episode, I will tell you right now, I haven't looked at the Wikipedia, and I have not spoiled the game for myself, so stumbling around and not finding things might be a thing that happens. As for the ship creation itself, there are 2 ways that I'm going to do this. The idea is that if we are going to create a ship, we are going to try to make it realistic. We are trying to make it believable. So, what this means is I'm going to try my best to actually put in more effort into the ship designs themselves. And if we are going to, say, buy a ship from a shipyard, we are buying not the ship per se, but we are buying the design. And we are then going to apply our own modifications. We are going to mod the crap out of it. So it's kind of like buying a second-hand, a car in real life and just, completely tuning it. So that is the overall idea in terms of ship design. We'll see how that actually works in practice a little bit later as we create our first mining drones. But yeah, that is the overall idea right now. And with that in mind, let's start. So, the name is going to be... we're going to be single player. The seed is going to be Spazzy, without any capital letters. We are going to go for normal scenario. We're going to not play the tutorial, full collision damage, and here is where the fun begins. See, the problem is, my problem with the current game design in general, and I'm going to reinstate that right now, is that I like to build ships, I like to make them look interesting and intricate, but when I get into fights, I do want to see battle damage. I want to see how these ship designs actually hold up in a dangerous environment. Did I place the weapons well enough? Did I place all of the very important internal parts of the ship so that if it gets booped by a torpedo from the front, all of its shield generation doesn't fall off, right? The problem with Avorion right now is that they made integrity fields, the field that physically increases the hit point count of the blocks, much more stronger than before. And even before this video, we had playthroughs where we specifically tried to not use the integrity fields. The whole point was to make the ship vulnerable so that it would actually sustain some visible battle damage. The only problem with Avorion is that it really penalizes you for actually losing blocks. Now, if your ship's overall HP was impacted much less by the amount of blocks you physically lose, this would be perfect. I really hope that someone actually goes around making a mod like that, but until then, we are going to kind of have to play on normal difficulty without the integrity fields, or on some of the harder difficulties with the integrity fields. As of right now, I'm not exactly sure which one I want to do yet. So, I think we can start with, say, Expert, the ones that says, you're no longer special, enemies no longer deal reduced damage to you, so every ship is equal to yours. I kinda want to see how that works out for us. And yeah. We're going to start with Expert, and we are going to use the Integrity Field Generators. I think that's how we're going to start. If I want to start using a lot of NPC ships as support, which in this case might actually be a good idea, we'll see. Anyway, difficulty Expert, single player, spazzy, let's go. So the one thing I really am kind of disappointed about is, in fact, the very beginning of the game. This episode is going to be the longest out of them all. The idea is that I'm going to kind of keep talking about my overall goal for this Let's Play, and so this video is going to be about 1 hour in length. The subsequent episodes after this one are going to be much shorter, and I am going to be kind of time skipping over some of the more uninteresting parts. But yeah, apart from that, let's take a look. So as we start with Expert, we don't really have a lot in terms of credits. And so, with that in mind, let's take a look at where we start. So who is our host for today? It is the Corporation of Livsuxv. I really wish they would do away with the randomly generated names. It makes every single faction, every single nation, the same. They really need to have a pool of names. But with that in mind, let's try to find that first big claimable asteroid. There it is. We're going to go after that thing in just a moment. But I see that we will need to actually get some resources first and foremost, so let's actually do that. Now, in terms of how we get items, how we progress through the game, I don't think that I'm going to be establishing any particular limitations on that. Maybe apart from the fact that I'm going to try and use stations a little bit more. Although, again, it's very easy to kind of say that at the first, like, 10 minutes of the game. Less so when you're kind of using all of your money to get items and, you know, keep your ships afloat. Especially when we're going to be talking about the current difficulty. Because one of the things I don't remember, because it was something that was changed every once in a while, was whether or not how do the reconstruction tokens work at this difficulty? Okay, we have 1,000 iron. Let's make it about 2,000, and I think what we're going to do, we are going to create the first ship from the shipyard. Or maybe we won't. We will see in just a bit. As usual, I kind of want to make the first ship a mining drone, so something else can do all of this, while I'm a little bit more free to, you know, play the game. The one thing that really kind of hinders Avorion from being a very interesting thing to watch is the monotony of gathering resources. And you might be thinking to yourself right now that the game audio is a little bit too much, but that's because I'm currently mining in a drone. As soon as I'm outside of this drone, or rather, as soon as I am inside of a ship, the audio levels will be just fine, so I'm not going to fine-tune them just yet. Now then, in terms of mods, before the DLC, there were a couple of interesting mods that I really wanted to kind of take a look at, but never really got around to it. So maybe we will take a look at it. in due time, anyway. Because most of the mods in Avorion don't seem to need a new galaxy. Because every single new system is generated on the spot. You know, when you actually jump to it. Then maybe it's a good thing. Anyway, this is kind of interesting. The resource depot does not have a crew place anymore, which is very strange. It didn't used to be like that. Oh, hello. You need to tell me. Here we go. Now we know where our main place is, which is really good. Okay, so let's create our first ship. Now, this is going to be a mining drone. So let's just name it like that. Mining Drone 1. The only problem is that it does not include a crew, because we are in fact playing on Expert, and this place right here does not sell crew. So perhaps it might actually be physically faster to just fly over to the near shipyard. 300 meters per second. Oh dear. This might actually take a while. But it's just for the sake of not being as loud. But yeah, so that is the overall idea. Now, speaking of some of the rules, I'm not going to use wormholes. I'm not going to use the wormholes, especially at the very start of the game. The problem with the wormholes is, as I have pointed out many, many times before, is that they just allow you to completely bypass a lot of the, you know, content in terms of gameplay. And so, with that in mind, I'm not going to use them. Unless it's going to be very necessary. It's probably going to be a little bit more, you know, needed in the late game. But yeah, if I see a wormhole, I'm just not going to take it. I do kind of want to make enemies early on. So, for example, if we find, you know, some sort of nation that is perhaps not on best terms with these guys, well then, you know, we could in fact be some bad people about it. Okay, that is really strange. So my question is, did they fix the thing where you can only see the crew transfer thing if you are next to the station? Because that might be the case, in which case I probably flew all that way for nothing. But hey, it's one way to find out. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm not getting the crew select thing because I don't have a ship. So, mining drone 1, let's go. Alright, so this is our little mining drone, and I know for a fact that it's little because this is how big the, you know, the gun, the actual gun is. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to modify the whole ship. Boosh. There we go. Now it's even smaller. And this is going to be the ship that houses our mining equipment. And so, with that in mind, how are we going to make it? I'm kind of tempted to make it kind of as simplistic as possible in terms of how it's built. Oh dear. See, there is one specific change that I really, really do not like. And that is the fact that I want to make this thing smaller, so I'm pressing and holding W, and I'm moving my mouse downward. Instead of just being as small as possible due to my current scale step. So, for example, if I made it even smaller, for some reason, it kind of... I think it has to do with these lines that I'm accidentally intersecting. And I now wonder if there is a way that I can disable them. Let's take a look. Difficulty, space loading screens, pause when inactive, autosave, pause, retrograde, driver warning, show hints, show building hints, send reports. Let's take a look. VSync on. Why? That doesn't sound nice. Let's remove that. FPS limit off. Let's set it to 120. The problem here is that I really want to actually disable that. But I don't see a way to do it. Show movement stats, energy stats, factor in installed systems. All stats, factoring everything. Okay. Oh, actually... So if I don't have the crew, it is actually not going to punish me for it, in terms of showing what kind of stats I have. Okay, so this is going to work something like this. And another over here, just in case. Yeah, this looks fine. So this is really going to be just a very simple mining drone, which hopefully I can make at least somewhat interesting to look at. Although, what's wrong with the scale step? Wow, that is really strange. It's not supposed to go over this thing. So this is a 1 by 1 by 1. Oh, that's why. See, this is what I hate. So what happened there is I selected the iron thruster and I went seemingly as small as I can without making it do this thing, right? But yeah. So if this thing is 1 by 1 by 1, then please stop doing that. Well, I guess it's not going to do that anyway because it requires 3 blocks and you cannot really divide cleanly by 3. Okay then. Let's set it to like 0.5 and place these maneuver blocks over here. And I guess visually it is going to be the same. There we go, something like this. The same for the other side. I'm trying to remember which block I needed for this. The one problem that I always had with building ships, which makes, you know, watching me build these ships kind of problematic, is that I have a very problematic way of imagining space in general. So I know what kind of shape I need over here, right? It has a slope over here, etc., etc. The problem is, even if I pick the correct one, its orientation is not obvious to me, right? Oh, that's actually an interesting shape. It's definitely not what I wanted to do, but it's an interesting shape. Okay, well, let's roll with that. Let's actually roll with that. The way that we're going to do it is we're going to apply one more here, like that. So this is kind of like a shroud now. And now, if I can only do the same, but on the other plane. I wonder if I would have to place it over here. Just... Yeah, there we go. Something like that. Okay, that's an interesting little drone. Now, the only thing that I really don't like here is the fact that it's kind of like... It has these completely flat sort of surfaces over here. So let's see if we can kind of do something about that. Now, the only thing is that, again, scaling this thing is going to be a complete nightmare. Let's remove the... Let's remove the mirror. Okay, how does this look? I like what I'm looking at. Have something like this. So it's not just, you know, completely flat. And perhaps a similar thing over here. And so, with that in mind, we can make the front kind of elongated, like this. Okay, now we are running into the problem of the grid size. Local, middle, voxel. Oh dear. Global? No. Local? Okay. I think local is enough for this. So I'm going to put it something like this. And now, I'm going to make it long enough to actually include the kind of slant that we provided over here. Yeah. That looks very much like a tiny little mining drone. I like what I see. Although, I just noticed we don't have a reconstruction token for this thing. So that is in fact kind of, not ideal. We are using armor though. So perhaps it's for the best. Okay, I have an idea. Let's use Iron Glow. Oh dear, I really wish it didn't do that. Okay, now the problem is I physically... Okay, let's see. Iron Engine 111, Glow 1 by 1 by whatever. Let's decrease it to 8. from one side, and 8. There we go, 8 from the other. And we can place it like this. Now, for just a moment, I'm going to set it to like black so we can, you know, see something. And we are going to make a shroud for it. So I think the way that we're actually going to do this is we're going to attach it to the engine and not the glow thing. Something like that. It looks like I'm not really able to place it over there, so it has to be smaller. Grid size 15? Okay, 15 works. And let's make a shroud for it. So it's gonna be kind of like this. I just realized that it applied the same color, which is not exactly what we wanted, but I can change that later. Just by selecting all of these, like this, and setting it to no color. Something like that. Okay, let's fill out the corners. Something like this. There we go. There we go. And let's flip it around. And there we go. There's something wrong about these textures that I frankly don't like. It looks like a engine if it was built in Half-Life 1, I'm not gonna lie. Again, one of the things about this Let's Play is I do want to make the ships themselves a little bit more intricate, a little bit more interesting to look at. But as you can see, it does come with a price. The price being that it might not be interesting to watch. And I do remember I did skip over a lot of the building episodes. And probably for a very good reason. So, there we go. Well, what do you think? And now let's make it like red. Ah, yes. So yeah, and now let's select all of the components for this. Control C, Control V, select the back of it as the root block. Looks like we'll have to delete this thing, and boom, there we go. Engine number 2. You know what? Just for the sake of fun. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's give it, like, antenna. 2 antenna. There we go. And now they can be iron glow. One of these antennas can be a solar red, similar to the other thing before, and the other one can be a nice little... Sorry. Nice little green. Okay. So, in essence, this is turning out to be a cute little drone. Of course, the problem is we're spending a lot of time for what is essentially a throwaway ship. And I am, in fact, sorry about that. So I guess something like this? I keep forgetting that paint is probably not something I want to have enabled all the time. Let's see if we can make the corner itself kind of a little bit more visually appealing by rounding it off. Yeah, something like that. There we go. And I would say good enough. Now, in terms of where to place these things, I think it's going to be something like this and this. And that is going to be our little mining ship. It does not like to stop, I'll tell you that. Hire crew. Let's see. We need 4 miners and that's it? That's it? We don't need anything else? Well, I guess the captain. For which we actually do not have the money for. Alright. Now the only problem is, this thing does not like to stop. So we will have to fix that. The only problem is that out of all the obvious places where to put this thing, I can only see here. Well, I will admit it kind of screws with the overall design. There's probably a way to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah, why not? It's not that it actually adds anything in terms of the design, but it does make the whole thing a little bit more interesting. And these kind of striped things. They just look weird, and I like it. Just jutting out from these things. It looks like a roach now. I like it. And it does stop now. So, hey. I think we have created it well enough to actually save the design. Now then, I'm going to delete all of these pre-made ships. Now let's call it the mining drone pattern 1. I could probably also color it a little bit, but I mean, we're already 35 minutes in, and that rock that we said we were going to claim is probably starting to get a little bit lonely. So let's go and do that. Because as it so happens, we do need a captain. And the only way we can do that is by actually having money to hire him. So let's go and do that. I mean, visually speaking, this thing is kind of silly. It's a happy little accident, if you want to start quoting Bob Ross. Now, the actual question here is, do we want a reconstruction token for this thing? Because technically speaking, it doesn't really have anything yet that I would classify as valuable. But at the same time, we did pick this difficulty setting for a reason. Okay, let's go back. Let's grab ourselves a captain. I'm still kind of waiting for the ability to tell my mining ships to say, ignore iron and go only for titanium. For example, it's a functionality that you would think would be easy enough to implement, but apparently not. Then again, I'm not the game designer, I'm not a modder, so I don't know how actually problematic would it be to do that. I can only guess and grump. Looks like a tick. Really does. Oop. There goes my energy. Oh, you know what we'll have to try? We are going to have to try... Well, first of all, buying a ship from the shipyard. That's definitely something we'll need to try. But at the same time, using the strategic view to outright tell the ship which asteroid to mine. Because in the previous versions, if I would say, you know, if I would select the ship and tell it to go mine, say, you know, a asteroid in the distance by using the view, then for some reason it would just treat the order as if I simply told it to mine. So it would just go for the closest rock. So am I still... Systems, energy, there we go, it's going down. Okay, there we go. Mucho better. And one captain later. So, my question is, repair dock, reconstruct token. Okay, so it's only 1,000 credits, so I will gladly get that. And so now that this has been done, my question is, if I go into the strategic view and select my drone, so there was a titanium asteroid here somewhere, very relatively close. I really wish I could just select it. There we go. The question is the ship just going to go for it? I just clicked it, by the way. Is it going to go for this specific asteroid? Or is it just going to go and mine? Both are acceptable, but I do prefer that it actually go do the do. There it goes. Look at this little tiny little shippy. It go. And it looks like it actually it's actually going for the look, there's one even closer. Yeah, it's actually going for that specific asteroid. Holy hell. They might have actually fixed it. Now, at this point in time, we actually do need more iron than we do need titanium. But the fact that I can actually tell it to do that is, in by itself, a big deal. Especially if I can queue it up. So, we have... So we got more of them over here. Right? So, I will press shift. Oh no. There you go. So, there's a bit of a trouble here. I was going to queue up orders. And how do you do that? By pressing and holding shift. I think the ship might not like that. Now that the shift is used to control the kind of, you know, the plane over here. Let's actually take a look. So this thing is almost done. And so the question is, if the orders have successfully queued up, this thing is going to go travel up there for the next titanium asteroid, the ones that I selected. If it didn't work, it is going to go off somewhere completely else. And there it goes. Yeah. So, queuing up specific asteroids does not work because some magnificent intelligence decided to bind moving this place up and down to the shift key. I don't get it. Like, this is interface 101, or like 101. Why would it work like this? I really do not know. Anyway, with that in mind, we are going to take a look at something else. So we have 3,000 iron, so that's cool. We have some titanium, which is also cool. That means we can actually commission the bases of our first ship. Remember the playthrough of the Discovery? We actually bought our first version of the ship. We didn't build it from complete scratch. We bought it off a shipyard, and then we pretty much modded the frick out of it. I want to do that again. So with that in mind, let's take a look. Where is the shipyard? There it is. So, build me a ship. Oh, this is a cute little design. So, how does this thing scale? Badly. Now, this is a bit of a chunky boy. This is really reminding me of StarCraft 2. Like, this is kind of like the Dreadnought from StarCraft 2. Oh, this would actually make for a terrific ship. Although with this, not so much. So, let's go back to that volume. Oh. Can we scale it down? Okay. So I have the shape that I like. So this is a good shape, right? I really like it. We could wait until we have that much titanium and iron. I'm not going to do that. So instead, I'm actually going to take this scale tool and just something like this. And let's do it. As for the name, I don't know. And if I don't know, you know what name it should be, right? The Indecisive, and I hope that I actually spelled that correctly. Boosh. Okay, thank you for your purchase. Your ship will be ready in about 5 minutes. Alright, ladies and gents, we have 5 minutes to spare. Let's go make sure that we will be able to actually modify that thing. So the Indecisive looks like to be our first actual ship. Now then, as already said, we are technically speaking just buying the chassis. The ship is, quote, naked. We are expected to then further modify it as we see fit. And that's exactly what we're going to do in 5 minutes from now. So, ladies and gents, as we are nearing the end of this video, tell me what you think. Obviously, we didn't really do a lot right now, which is completely understandable. This is, in fact, the first episode. In the future, I am going to allow the game to... the idea is I'm going to be playing in a 1-hour session, and then I'm going to be kind of time-skipping it. Although, as per request, I'm not actually going to provide the time skip, it's going to kind of fade into the next section of the video, because apparently it's really disorientating when I do it. Now, the reason why I did that is because I kind of wanted to allow people to pause the video mid-time skipped, so they can kind of follow along what exactly it is that I'm doing. But now I realize that it doesn't really help things, it just makes it kind of, you know, disorienting to watch. So I will in fact not do that anymore. But yeah. Now, one of the things that I really want to do is get into a fight. Now, as far as I understand, getting into a fight is not all that easy anymore in the starting sector because it counts as a, quote, safe haven. But maybe, you know, pirates will appear. We will, in fact, see. So yeah, just to reiterate, I'm going to try to make my ships visually interesting and believable in how they're designed. It's probably going to be a little bit harder for ships that I have specifically built at stations because I have no control over how they're built. Okay. It's halfway done. So yeah, no wormholes, because that tends to ruin the game. What else? What else? And we are playing at a higher difficulty, so I am going to in fact use, you know, integrity field generators. And of course, the most important rule of them all is that as the Let's Play progresses, I will in fact change these rules around a little bit and remove them or add new ones as I see fit. If it's going to make the Let's Play more interesting to watch, right? So yeah, something like that. So, once the Indecisive is done, we are going to fit it up with all the crew members that we need. We are also going to make sure that we modify it a little bit so that it's actually, you know, our ship. And then I guess we'll just take it for test drive, I guess. I don't know if I want to give it a captain yet. Using using NPC flown ships for combat was in fact a viable strategy in the previous episode, but even then they did have some troubles with some of the NPCs. And since we are in fact playing on this difficulty, I think that, I don't know, like I kind of want to try to lead a fleet of ships by using the strategic view. But the thing is, Avorion NPCs, even to this day, are just dumb as a bag of hammers. I think that's the expression that I'm looking for. Or maybe that's a good idea. Okay. There it is. There it is. There is our little shippy. There is, in fact, the HMS Indecisive. No, never mind. There we go. Much better. So, let's take a look. Okay, this feels fine for now. Right, so where is the repair dock? So one thing I really will want to do is buy myself a reconstruction token for 10,000 credits. Because if this thing goes boom, I will in fact want to reconstruct it. The one thing that I did notice, by the way, is that NPC bases, or rather shipyard-generated ships, do come off with turret bases. They have very good collision damage reduction. You know, they're basically armor blocks, right? But it kind of does show where the game kind of wants me to put my weapons at. But I think the first thing that I will want to do, once I get some titanium, is actually do something about the integrity field. Because as you can see, none of this ship actually has integrity field generators. And that is slightly problematic. Oh dear, you know what? I just noticed how tiny this thing is. In comparison to the turrets, look at how tiny this thing is. This is a small ship. It looks like a big ship, but it's actually not. This is a very small ship. And this is going to be our starter. In the next episode, since we only do have 5 minutes left on this one, we are in fact going to start modifying this thing. But before we do that, there are a couple of... I thought that the dock was in front of me. Well, isn't that it? That is not what I wanted to do. That didn't take long, did it? Wait, that's the equipment dock. I was actually going to go... Okay. I guess this is the place where I want to be. We don't have enough titanium. Missing blocks only. Yeah, there we go. That's gonna be just fine. Alright. Didn't kill myself this time. Hey! Right. Trade equipment. Tell me what you got. And what do I have? Because I didn't really check this out at first. There it is. Okay, so I actually have triple chain gun turrets with a DPS of 27. So that's actually very damn good. Yeah, these are genuinely good turrets. I want more of these. Probably won't get them. Triple chain guns for 18, 20, 30. So this one's actually better than the one that I currently have. But in order to actually have those, I would need this turret control system for military applications. This time I'm not going to make the mistake where I accidentally buy the armed/unarmed turrets. But really, that is the only ones that I currently see here. Which is certainly a shame. Alright. I guess we'll have to kind of find other equipment. Oh, wow. So, this ship does not strafe. It does not like to strafe at all. Okay, mining drone. Hey, I really like what you're doing over there, but could you please come and mine this thing? Yes, thank you. I really like the fact that I can finally tell it specifically. It's like, hey, I want this asteroid mined. That is really good, and that is probably the best thing that they have added so far. Alright. Ladies and gents, it has been 1 hour. Welcome to episode 1. In this episode, we created ourselves our first mining drone, and we have bought ourselves a ship that we are going to slowly make it into our own over time. But yeah, with that in mind, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.